All right, first we're going to start off with the lower control arm bushing on the hub. This is one I just did on the other side, so I can kind of go over the process with this. I do have the OEM Tools bushing, I guess it's R&R kit, remove and replace kit. It's a pretty extensive case. You might be able to rent it somewhere or borrow it. It's pretty expensive. I think I paid 160 bucks for it, which is probably more expensive than if I paid a shop to push these out. But anyways, not only that kit, I ended up using, of course it's still unlabeled. These are supposed to be labeled, but I just made sure you have to make sure you get a cup that's the appropriate size to fit around the bushing here, which this one fit pretty good, and you're gonna have it the cup on the rear side of the bushing because there's not enough clearance because of the other bushing point to fit a cup on the other side. And because of this, normally you're supposed to have a cup on each side, one that's small enough to push the bushing and one big enough to catch the bushing. But as you can see here, there's just no room for it to fit around this other bushing. So I went out and bought some piping at Lowe's. This is, I believe, 4-inch long, 1/2 inch, and a threaded transition piece. And what you do is you actually get this going. I'll go ahead and get my camera set up to actually show you how this sets up, and back in a second. All right, you're gonna situate this kit kind of like this. You have the end nut, the cap fits into the cup, and then you put this through the bushing. And you gotta watch for the parking brake, which does get in the way. And you wanna make sure this all plugs into place. You want the window facing you so you can make sure it's on there, and sits like that. All right, and then the other side, we're gonna take this piece and put it into the bushing. So you want the end into the bushing. And once that's in place, you put the other cap on. And then finally, the bearing nut, you do want to put a little lubricant on it occasionally so it doesn't burn up. And you just thread that on the end. All right, we'll go ahead and take a look how this is set up. So you want to make sure you get this all organized before you tighten this end down. And then on this end, you'll see that there is just enough clearance above this piece of the hub with this pipe. You want to make sure this is out of the way. This is to protect the cap here, and then the nuts on here. And you're actually going to then, I believe this is a 1 1/16 nut. You want to start torquing it in. It may catch, but it shouldn't be impossible. If you are, you may have the cup off a line and the bearing is actually hitting the cup, which is not good. You actually want the bearing to go into the cup on this end over here. So you make sure make sure this has enough room when you look in the window to fit it. And to do that, you just make sure you have this tightened down and you apply torque here. I'm gonna go ahead and start working on that. I ended up having to break out the breaker part because this one was not complying. It's barely moving. I don't know, the other side seemed a lot easier, but that's something popping loose. Hopefully it's not stuff breaking. Feels like it's getting a little bit easier. Oh, maybe. Looks like it's coming through finally. See if it loosened up at all. There she goes. And the bushing is out. It looks like I did mangle a little bit, bent the extractor rod here, and my tool. I ended up actually putting an additional piece on here because I was tearing up the threads, so I actually did change this out and add this piece to it to get this bushing out. It was significantly harder than the other one. All right, bushings are all out except for the upper control arm. I'll be doing those after I get all the SuperPro bushings in place. I already have the trailing arm installed. Getting ready to do the lower control arm bushing, which is SPF 3104K is the part number for this. I guess they don't really sell this one too often because most people don't bother with the setup, but pretty simple. You just want to make sure you grease all this up. You want to, push in on one side, grease up this little piece, put it in. You actually want this to be, this one actually looks recessed. You might not have to, but put this in, and then you put this piece on top, push it in, and that's it. I mean, pretty simple. Putting them on is 100 times easier than taking the old bushings out. All right, bushing is in. Not too difficult. Make sure you wipe all the extra grease off until you're ready to actually install lower control arm, so you don't have a bunch of crap stuck on here. Come back to it to install everything in a day or so, however long it takes you. For me, week it seems like. But yep, there we go. Bushing is in place. Got the trailing arm bushing, or control arm bushing, trailing arm bushing on the other side. Get ready to put the lower control arm on. I got the yellow speed racing ones, which I've already measured out, and it pretty much goes in here, swings up that way. But also am going to be putting the Swaybar, SuperPro Swaybar brace, and it goes like this. I need to remove the lower Swaybar bracket bolt out. It's going to actually go between that, and then up here I'm going to be using the thicker 5mm washer that they give you between the subframe and the brace. They also supply you a fancy new bolt. It's going to come through the back, and I believe you actually take the thinner 5mm, the 1.6mm bolt, goes between the brace and the bolt head. So I believe they want me to put that on the back side to, I guess, stabilize this a little bit more, give it a little bit more strength. I put a little bit of super lube grease in here. I don't know if I need it. It isn't rubber, it's, I guess, metal on metal, but can't hurt. So I'm gonna go ahead and move that bolt and get this maneuvered in place and go from there. All right, 12mm. Kids are murdering each other. I had to loosen up the top bolt a little bit to get the bottom bolt to slide back into place correctly. I don't want to tighten it down too much, but got a little bit of room here. And slide into place. new fancy bolt and a washer like this. You're gonna want to come through the back with it. At least that's what the instructions says. Jesus. Alright, so not quite all the way through. Get the 5mm washer up in there. Now push it through. Alright, so it's kind of, make sure you don't drop this and bang it open, scratch all this shit. Maybe like a paper towel or something under here. Reuse the factory, or drop it, factory nut. And big thing is, don't torque everything down until you have everything loaded. Otherwise, things won't line up quite right. And make sure you lube up the other side. And then we can run a bolt through that one as well. And tighten it down a little bit, just not to the torque. So I'm gonna go ahead and find all the other hardware and lubricate the lower control arm hub bushing. All right, got the lower control arm up. I hope I don't have the bolt swapped. I'll figure that out for this bolt. It's slightly different than a different bolt. This one, I think, is this one for the coilovers, but I'm not sure. Hopefully I'll figure that out, but I have it set up like this way. Bolt heads go this. Got the L-Speed Racing lower control arm, SuperPro endlink. I believe they go in through here. I'm not sure the difference between there's two positions. Not sure what the reasoning of that is, but I guess I'll go to perhaps the lower position, or maybe not. Maybe it'll be the upper position, whichever one it fits in, I guess. Yeah, it doesn't want to go in the lower position, so I'm gonna have them in the upper position. Maybe I'll tweak this later. And you run it through the back. Yeah, up the front. So the nut on it. Make sure you don't have the Swaybar too tight so you cannot adjust it. And I'm going to run it to the middle position, hopefully. All right, starting to lose lighting, but you can kind of see it here. I have it through the center position. I guess it's medium stiffness of the Swaybar. It's locked down pretty good in the lower control arm here. As you can see, everything kind of flows together. Everybody, the alignment's eyeballed until it gets professionally aligned. Nothing's torqued down, just tightened up a little bit until I put it on the wheels and can torque it down under load. All right, got the coil over here. Already measured out. It's gonna go in this slot here and up in there. I may have to, probably shouldn't have bolted all this stuff back together, but I kind of wanted everything bolted because I called it a night last night. Didn't want things just dangling down in my driveway, so may have to pull the bolt out. Low control arm, bushing, the hub. Maybe it just give me a little bit more leeway to drop it down just a little bit, enough to wedge the cooler over in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to take this thing and slide up in there and up in there. All right, I have the coilovers installed, lower control arm, trailing arm with the new SuperPro bushings, end links, Swaybar